getting into the thick of things here with the NLL season and, trade deadline, some major movement. From a big picture perspective, we got Toronto Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of big sellers. And I would say Philadelphia Wings making a big push here. So I'll just read through the trades just so I don't miss anything. But Rock trade Rose, Hendricks, 4th-round selection in the 25 draft, the Roughnecks for Abrams, Hudson, and their 1st-round selection in the 26 draft. And then they also trade Mitch Belisle and Corbeil to the Wings to get Philly's 1st-round selection in the 25 draft. And then separately, the Wings also then pick up Shane Simpson from the Desert Dogs, trading Holden to Catoni. So let's start with the Rock. Your thoughts on just them kind of, in essence, and then I know they put out some stuff publicly, but punting on the season and just trading a bunch of guys to get at assets.
Yeah, Jamie Dowick, the owner and their GM, I mean, he said we want to win now, but he also recognizes they need to shore up for the future, and he's the kind of guy that has said time and time again, like, I would pick first in my draft, I would pick Mark Matthews. Like, he would trade. He'd rather get known, established. But you look at the 26, the 27 draft being some of the strongest in the NLL. You look at the success that some teams have had with bringing in and then developing young talent, and how much better some of these guys are coming into the NLL, like game ready. You look at it. I mean, Jeff Teet's a generational guy.
Yeah.
Dyson Williams really strong, but it seems like the tide has changed a little bit there in Toronto. It's also unique. This year they're playing that kind of traveling model where they're doing renovations to their Hamilton arena. So you wonder, it's like, are they looking to just kind of go fresh start when they move back in?
Yeah.
Build that roster from the ground up and really get secure buy-in from that Hamilton area and just be like, this is our team, this is our new team. The Nick Rose one, that one was like shocking to me.
Yeah.
For anyone who knows Nick Rose, I mean, just one of the best guys, most loyal guys. He is the general manager of the Toronto Rock Athletic Center where they practice, where their locker room is. He runs the leagues that they run. So he is intimately tied kind of day in, day out with the Toronto Rock. So it's certainly got to be a challenge, but he's also a guy who wants to win. And I think he hadn't, probably after a couple of those late losses, they got Schreiber back, they got some pieces back, and they surged. And then they faltered a little bit. They lost to the Seals. And their chances of making a run and making the playoffs are getting slimmer by the day. He probably wants to win. The real question is next year he'll be an unrestricted free agent. So will he come back to Toronto? I think there's a lot of people that are saying this is like this is a rental. Go win a championship, Calgary, and then we're going to try to win him back. But you got Josh Sanderson at Calgary, who's a long-time Toronto guy and knows Nick really well, and that could kind of, if things go well there, who's not to say? He started early in his career in Calgary after I think it was after his time with us with the Boston Blazers. So you never know if things go well. Does he stay there? But that was certainly huge news, and I haven't had a chance to personally talk with Nick, but I'd be very curious. I gotta imagine it's a roller coaster of emotions for him wanting to win, being so intimately tied. The other thing, like I said, he's the GM of the Toronto Rock Athletics, and he's gonna see those guys. He lives with a bunch of them. That's the reality of
that's the humanistic element that sometimes gets overlooked. Right?
Yeah. But either way, he's got a chance with a really strong Calgary team, and they really like Hendricks. They think they can build around him being young. So Calgary gets two pieces they're really excited about, and I think they think they can go on a run with Curtis Dixon back and Dane Doby back. So they feel good about the deal. And then Toronto is obviously looking towards that future. And then the other side of that deal, or the next part that you mentioned, is the Wings, where I got to see the Wings play against Albany, and it's like I could see some glaring issues they needed to shore up on the end.
So, and you look kind of from just a macro perspective, you got kind of Bandits, right? Only one loss to the Seals. Then kind of the bottom.
And Sask is right up there. They just lost to the Bandits by a goal.
I'm just saying in tiers, you got kind of Buffalo, only one loss on the season.
Yeah.
You got kind of the lower, bottom of the barrel in Rock sold. And then you got a huge middle class.
Right. And that's
where it's the Wings are in that middle class. Do you think these moves kind of do you see that this elevating them? Do you see them this getting them a serious kind of jump up, or are these moves marginal?
I think it's what they needed. Most importantly, watching I was there for their game against the Albany Firewolves, and their offense had been hugely vaunted throughout the season. Was playing great.
Yeah.
Albany was able to shut them down a little bit, but defensively, you could just see a lot of breakdowns in that Philadelphia defense. And I think a lot of it was they just didn't have like that gritty, loose ball veteran.
Okay.
And with Corbeil, they pick up some really good pieces there. With DeSnoo, he's like on the younger side. That middle tier veteran.
Yeah.
That is like a ground ball toughness, veteran leadership experience that they really needed. And not like getting one, I don't know if that makes an impact.
Okay.
But when you get two of them,
right.
they can, one, always have one of them on the floor, or
right.
two, both be on the floor together, and they just have to get three guys in the right positions from there.
Yeah.
So I really like this for them, especially if their offense can then find some juice out of the transition that DeSnoo can spark. And Corbeil, although he's getting up there in age, can still push the pace a little bit in transition. So I think it's a good deal for them. The proof will be in the pudding. How do they fit in? How do they provide that boost? But I think if they can shore up those issues on defense, get their offense back to firing the way they were, but they've got a tough schedule in this back half.
Yeah.
Then they could definitely make a run. And they're, like you said, they're right in that pack that it's going to come down to that 9th or 10th win for all those teams, whether they're in the playoffs or on the outside looking in.